A copy of the budget?
I'm just so displeased with the celebration.
You good?
I feel like once
Right here.
Marie, you ready?
Oh, and this one too.
Right.
And this one at the Conoco. We haven't done that one.
Well, and then he's gonna be gone for what, 3 weeks?
That was getting paid for by somebody else. We weren't putting money into that. The only thing we were gonna do is move a sidewalk.
They're saying they're gonna pay for them.
Oh, great.
Yeah. But we're saying we're paying for other people's.
What's where's that on the agenda? I would vote that we modify the. Is that where's that? Okay, oh my God. Here.
Marie, are you ready?
Sorry, that's right. Switch on the agenda to get that.
I'd like to call this regular town board meeting for Tuesday, June 17th, 2025 to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Here.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Here.
Trustee Hartz.
Here.
Trustee Katzos.
Here.
Trustee Moreland.
Here.
Trustee McLaurin.
Here.
And Mayor Ah.
Here. All rise for the pledge.
Recording in progress.
I pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Does the board have any conflicts of interest?
No.
No.
Sir.
I do. I have a question for the attorney first, though. On the Caswells, I did a survey for them. I've been paid for it. It's done and over with. It was 6 months ago. I don't know if I need to abstain or,
For this,
Is the matter for which you're going to,
it's over water,
does it
it's
have
over them
anything to do
hooking up
with
to,
your
wa-
work?
it's over them to hook up to water line. Has nothing to do with the survey.
That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. But I do need to abstain on, and conflict on 4B and 2A. Next up is general public input on anything that's not on the agenda. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, I will close that. And has the board had a chance to look over the agenda?
Yes.
One thing I'd like to add, guys, when I wrote this agenda, I wasn't aware that Mr. Hahn wasn't going to be here, so his town manager report, we could strike from the agenda.
Okay.
Okay. May I ask a question? So we have quite a few people here in the audience tonight, and I'm assuming they're here for items that are on the action agenda. I'm wondering if there's any way we could rework the agenda so that they don't have to sit through the entire meeting?
Yeah.
I don't know how, if that's a possibility. I mean, unless you all would love to stay through everything we talk about.
riveting, I promise.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because I'm gonna guess that might be somewhere around maybe, I don't know about 4B or 4C? Could we,
Looks like 4C.
okay.
But if we're gonna do the action agenda, then we need to do the public hearing on BEEP first.
Okay.
And we
Can
can,
we just
we can
move the
move,
one action item?
we can move,
So move just the one action item for the Joe Stevenson memorials,
you wanna do that first?
yes. After we approve the agenda, obviously.
Well, yeah, that would be part of the approval. So I'm looking for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda with the adjustment of moving action item 4C after the approved agenda item.
I second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Hartz.
Yes.
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. So next up would be action agenda item 4C, memorials and statue in Joe Stevenson Park.
Brandon Tisher, 615 Hickory Ridge. Mr. Mayor, members of the board, town leadership, good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you this evening, and thank you for moving the agenda around for us. I think we all definitely appreciate that. I feel honored and humbled and privileged to be here tonight. I feel like I'm representing a lot of different people, and my experiences here in this room, when there's this much community support and involvement in here, it's generally something that's important to the community. And I think tonight what we're going to discuss is definitely falls within that category. I'm here to speak with you tonight about a young man named Ozzie Goldman, who lost his life to a battle with cancer on May 7th. I'm a member of the Pine River Youth Baseball Board. I was a coach of Ozzie's, and I'm a friend of Ozzie's and the Goldman family. And I would like to acknowledge them here tonight. Dan Goldman, Ozzie's dad, Robin, and Gracie. I feel like I'm here on behalf of them, the friends and family that are here, the members of the community. And we are here to request the renaming of the town baseball fields at Joe Stevenson Park. We're doing so in partnership with the Stevenson family. We have their full support, and we have a letter from them, which I hope is in the packet that you have reviewed. And we would like to rename the two baseball fields Ozzie Goldman Memorial Fields at Joe Stevenson Park. And I was glad that that's what we all kind of agreed upon. I didn't want to lose the Joe Stevenson history there, and I think what we're asking for, I think they go hand in hand. I think Ozzie Goldman Memorial Fields at Joe Stevenson Park represents a very good thing for our community. Ozzie was a remarkable young man. He was unlike anybody I've ever met, unlike anybody I've ever known. And if you didn't know him, I wish you would have had the opportunity to, because I know with all my heart you would have been a better person because of the time that you were able to spend with him. He had several different battles with cancers that I'm not going to begin to try to explain or pronounce. His battle started at the age of 2. Robin can probably tell us how many surgeries he had. I know it was over 25 different surgeries and all kinds of different treatments, countless trips to Children's Hospital for treatment. And you know, we look at Ozzie's life and we could say that so much of his life was defined by cancer. But the amazing thing about Ozzie is that he did not let that define him as a person and who he was as an individual. He was resilient. He was kind and compassionate. He was courageous and strong, funny, joyful, faithful, and faith-filled. If anyone had a reason to complain or be in a bad mood, it was certainly him. I never witnessed him complain, be unkind, or get angry because of his circumstances. Those who knew him will remember him for his joy, his infectious personality, and I guarantee you I got a chuckle out of him for describing him as infectious. And his incredible sense of humor. I think the impact that Ozzie had on our community, we will never fully understand. I was able to attend his celebration of life, and one of the things that stuck out to me so brightly was the number of young kids and young adults that walked up bold and courageous and spoke in front of at least 100 people. And I listened to the testimony about how Ozzie lived his life and how that gave them the courage to go up and stand and speak to the impact that Ozzie had, and just the example and the way that he treated others and lived his life gave them courage to be able to come up and speak in front of people. His teammates, I watched them step up to the plate, put his number in the dirt before their at-bats. I watched them write their number on their gloves, on their hats. This patch here represents Ozzie. I watched them try to play the game of baseball the way that he played the game of baseball. and I watched them try to treat each other the way that he treated them. Ozzie loved baseball, and I can say in all confidence it was probably his first love. He was the happiest on the baseball field, and much of that time was spent on the fields at Joe Stevenson Park. I believe that some of Dan's and Robin's and their family, some of their greatest memories with Ozzie are going to be found on that baseball field. May 3rd, not too long before he passed, we, as a friends and family, wanted to do something special for Ozzie, so we put together one last game. We called it Ozzie's Home Run. The plan was for Ozzie to step up to the plate, and we were going to let him hit the baseball, and regardless of where the ball went, he was going to round like a home run trot, regardless. Well, knowing Ozzie, he didn't want to do that. He said, I just want to play a game of baseball. He stepped up to the plate, and this is knowing what was going on in his physical body at the time. It's almost a miracle. He stepped up to the plate and just hit a ball incredibly hard to the third baseman. Third baseman made a beautiful play, threw him out. But Ozzie continued to bat, and he continued to put the ball in play. And speaking with him later, just the fact that he was making contact was incredible. It speaks to his strength and resilience as a person. And the fact that he didn't want it any other way than just a normal game of baseball was incredible. Ben, if you'd come up, I would like you to just tell your quick story about Ben's experience with Ozzie on the baseball fields.
Good evening, Board of Trustees, Town Leadership. My name is Ben Melanson. I've been a resident of Bayfield since 2015, and pretty much that entire time I've been a baseball coach. And I also work for the town of Bayfield in the Parks Department. And told this story at Ozzie's memorial service and was asked to share it tonight. A lot of times I'll be at work cruising around in the cart down by the ball fields. It's not uncommon to see Ozzie out there with his dad or a friend, teammate, whatever, just playing baseball. Even toward the latter stages of his life when he was undergoing treatment, he was out there playing baseball. And this one particular day, I was cruising around, going to do this and that, and saw Ozzie on the north field, right? Got out of the cart, talked to him through the fence. Hey, what's up, Oz? You know, what are you about to get into? And he just deadpan looked at me and he said, he's holding a baseball. He said, I'm about to take this thing 450 dead center field, which was funny because, you know, there was nobody pitching to him. He didn't even have a tee. He just had a bat and a bag of balls. He just throwing balls up to himself. And if you know anything about the north field, there's a yellow sign out by that telephone pole that says 281, right? So my math is not awesome, but that's a whole lot less than 450. So if you think 450 feet, you're talking like over Grande's on the Mill Street. But he said it with such conviction. I was getting ready to tell my boss, like, hey, I'm going to gas up the cart and go look for a baseball here in a minute, you know. But he was just so positive. Even, you know, at his last game, you know, a few days before he went, man, he was just out there playing. And, you know, being a coach is not something that I take lightly at all. It's a big responsibility, and any coach in any kind of sport or athletic endeavor, one of your goals should be to have an impact on the players that you have an opportunity to come across and coach. You know, it's the reason why you stay after practice to work with a kid who's struggling. It's the reason why you talk to the kid at the end of your bench and try to motivate him to do things he never thought he could do. It's why my hair looks ridiculous like this, all right? But I know for myself, Brandon, Kenny, Derek, Chris, all the coaches that have had the pleasure of working with and getting to know Ozzie, I can speak for them. It was the reverse. He had a greater impact on us than we could ever hope to have on him. All right, and just possessed all of the qualities that you would want in a young man, and qualities that we should try to reflect in ourselves. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ben. I think that does a great job of summing up who Ozzie was. The baseball fields at Joe Stevenson Park were his home away from home. Therefore, in collaboration with Tom Stevenson, the son of the late Joe Stevenson, who was also lost in a battle with cancer, we ask for your approval to rename the town baseball fields to Ozzie Goldman Memorial Fields at Joe Stevenson Park. A reminder to all that no matter what life throws at you, be positive, work hard, be kind, and always swing for 450, dead center. Upon approval of this request, we would like to place a sign on the east-facing or north-facing wall at the restroom of the building of the restroom or the concession stands. I understand the town code signs on the athletic fields and scoreboards intended for viewing on the property upon which the scoreboard is located are exempt from land use code restrictions. However, since this is town property, we will work with the town to design a sign and submit to the Planning Commissions and Board of Trustees for your approval. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm happy to read the letter requesting the statue as well. I don't believe that Mandy's here. If we need to get that on official record, I'm happy to do that for her as well, if that's necessary.
We have a copy of it.
Okay.
Already cried over that.
Any questions?
Does the board have any questions?
I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Any discussion?
We've been asked multiple times in the past to change the name of Joe Stevenson's park. And never did we have the descendants of Joe Stevenson's permission to do so. And I think that's telling in how we should go about this.
Yes.
I'm Phyllis Ledby, as you probably know, 9205 County Road 521. I moved to Bayfield in 1955, earned every gray hair since I've been here, and I know Joe Stevenson very, very well, and his family. And I was probably one of the few that fought to keep the name Joe Stevenson. And I wasn't fortunate enough to know Ozzie, nor his family, but I think Joe would be very pleased to name the fields after Ozzie. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, may I speak to?
Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Hello, my name's Madeline Shea. I live at 722 Jacobs Lane. I live here in town, and for 9 years, I've taught at the primary school. And I just wanted to bring a different lens and perspective of the impact that Ozzie has had, clearly on the baseball community. But upon his passing, the entire district was affected, from the primary school, intermediate, middle, and high school. And I just want to bring that perspective that this is not just a niche baseball player. The Goldman family is the heart of Bayfield. And I haven't talked to all my colleagues, but I am sure they would be in 100% support of this. And so I just want to share my support as a teacher and a resident of the community. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm April Stewart, the director of BEEP. Was here on very different reasonings tonight, but here we are. Ozzie went to BEEP, and some kids you should name castles after. He's one of them. And so, as you know, he has all of BEEP's support, and a field would be his castle. So, yes, you all have our support and love. So, and I will hold myself together for the rest of it.
So, Mr. Mayor, Brandon Tischer brought up a good point about land use code and other things for how this happens. So I just want to make sure that when we make a motion, that we're covering, that if we're in support of this, do we need to make any kind of notation in the motion if things need to go through the planning commission? Like, I would never have thought that, but again, maybe I should read the codes a little more closely. Is there anything else that we need to consider when making a motion to ensure that we're making a motion that's following our rules and regulations of the town? And I'm kind of looking at Michael while I'm saying that, just to make sure we're doing this appropriately.
And Trustee Zara, you're spot on in that there have been requests in the past, very emotional requests as well, with regard to renaming certain public facilities in the town of Bayfield. I believe the town of Bayfield has a policy, not necessarily an ordinance or some law, but that policy probably should be followed. And there has often been the reference to that policy. So my suggestion is that this board table this matter subject to a review of Bayfield's policy on naming of public facilities and so forth, and then perhaps give direction to draft a resolution if the policy provides to affirm or deny this particular request.
Is there any way to word it in a manner that allows them to at least know where we fall on it? Because I hate to watch all these people leave and not.
Sure, I think that the mayor can ask for a vote on direction, and that direction should be given.
Okay.
So, pleasure of the board on the direction that you would like to head.
Well, I would definitely like to change the name,
Yeah, I would like to move forward with the name change.
as long as we follow
Yeah.
our codes and our policies.
And just a reminder too, there is two different kind of things going on here. There's a group definitely for the name change, but there's also Ms. Roderick's request in your packet there for the statute to consider as well.
Yeah, and the statute, I don't have a problem with the statute either.
I do know there's been some conversation about other statues and memorial, and I believe we had $10,000 earmarked for possible grant or artist fees for that too, and I'm wondering about the placement of the statue compared to the placement of those memorials as well. They aren't in progress yet, but they are in our plan and in our budget. So along with the policy of the town, do we have something that guides us with where the placement, like Moreland, her request for a memorial, Well, it was a girl that was murdered too. And hers is in,
That was on.
but
private
that's not in the
property.
park.
That was also, wasn't it private property, or it was either
Yeah.
private property or it was CDOT, and we didn't have control
Right,
over that.
Right.
it's CDOT property.
Right.
These
And
are all
we're-
valid
we're-
issues, and my suggestion is that your planning director should look into this
Yeah.
and review and provide a report to you guys with a potential resolution for your consideration, if that is your wish.
Direction with what he said.
I can tell you that we have placed probably at least 3 memorial benches in the parks that folks have paid for and we have installed. So that is something that we have done, just so you know.
Okay. So I think, if anyone else wants to speak, I'm in favor of the statute, I'm in favor of the name change. I just want to make sure that we're doing it appropriately so that we're not saying, yes, let's do this, and then, wait, time out. So I think that's where we can make the motion to table, but maybe everyone just say where they stand on this so that we know when we table it, when we come back to this after the research on making the resolution and ensuring the placement is in the right place, that we're not all then gonna be like, well, no.
No, I'm in favor for it. I've worked with Ozzy, loved him. He's a great kid. So I'm in favor of moving forward, as long as, you know, we stay within
Right.
our boundaries or our lane.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Me too,
Laura?
absolutely.
Kat?
Yes, with verification from our planning director.
Well, I'm all for it. We just need to find a way to carry it out properly. Absolutely
Yeah.
for it.
Okay, cool. So is this Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, is it a motion to table?
Motion to table and perhaps either for the next meeting, I'm not sure what that date is.
You better give
July
them,
Perhaps
Yeah.
a month away.
you better give them a couple, like,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he's going.
2
Yeah.
or 3 or 4 meetings or something. I mean,
Yeah,
like, I'm
'cause I
not
was
trying
like,
to
you're-
delay
you're-
you, but
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
Our-
gotta go to planning commission.
and
He's
our
got some research.
planner
like-
guy is
Okay.
leaving for a month.
he's got a vacation too, okay.
So
So-
Oh,
we're,
a daughter marriage.
we're like, we can't get a lot done in the next month, so have some patience, we'll get there, but we can't do anything right away.
Plus, it sounds like doing the statue takes, doesn't it say in here, 6 to 10 months to complete? So I think we can come back and do this properly so that it's on the record and done correctly. That gives time for Mandy to start her process with commissioning the statue. And then perhaps our community, our planner, director, sorry, Stephen, I'm like screwing up your title, can get more detail then and work with Mandy on what are some of the things that need to happen, where the placement can be. And then we can kind of get this dialed in to see what goes from there. Is that okay with everyone in here? Just to make sure we're doing it appropriately, not just voting, yes, let's do this, then finding out we got to come back and do it again because we didn't do it right the first time. So.
But it's a positive direction.
Yeah, no. We want to see this happen for Ozzy and for all of you to have that place where you can remember him. So,
So I still need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to table action item agenda 4C, memorials and statue in Joe Stevenson Park, in order to give our town staff the time to ensure that we can make the appropriate resolution and figure out the appropriate placement for a statue.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Any public comment? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg,
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro,
Yes.
Trustee Hartz,
Yes,
Trustee Katsas,
Yes.
Trustee Moreland,
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin,
Yes.
and Mayor Ah.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you all.
thank you all.
Of course. You're welcome. Thank you.
Put the chairs back up.
Thank you.
He was a good kid.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Can I make a request that we start putting some tissue up here? No, there's nothing up here.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Especially if we have subjects like that, because I can't make it through without crying. I saw one person crying, it was over.
Get a hold of yourself.
Yeah.
Like,
Right?
I've been trying to control it
That's why
since
when
I
I
was a
spoke, I
child.
looked
It ain't gonna happen now.
Yeah, it's hard to look at the crowd.
You're that
I've
one.
had over 50 years' experience with it. It's not happening.
So we're going to move on to the public hearing for the BEEP annexation. And the public hearing for the BEEP annexation. I give you the trusty gavel.
It is on page 320.
Hey, tell the mayor on his way out.
Okay.
Right now. Jesus.
He is, that's right.
You did the survey for it, I'm sure.
Almost.
Okay. Are we rezoning as well?
I think they're making a request.
There we go. Okay.
Annexation has to be a part of
Yeah, that's a tough one to follow. But the item before you tonight is a consideration of an annexation and initial zoning for a 1.2 acre parcel of land. And the applicant is Bayfield Early Education Programs, you know them as BEEP, and they are here tonight to request your consideration of the annexation and to look at an initial zoning for the property. The initial zoning for the property would be multifamily residential, and that zoning, while it might seem strange, is consistent with the current zoning that they have for their child care facility today. So that would make that consistent with what they currently have. So they submitted the application, an initial zoning application. We've taken it under consideration. It's something that we think makes sense for the town. It's an infill property. It's immediately adjacent to the annexation for the McCoy annexation, which you heard not too long ago. So it really takes that whole center portion of property and starts to fill it in and really starts to complete the picture for the town itself. It's not part of this application, but ultimately down the road, there will be a subsequent opportunity for you to review the use of the property. So in the multifamily designation, a child care facility is a use by review. So that's not for you tonight, but I wanted to make you aware that if this annexation goes through, the Planning Commission comes back to the Board of Trustees, you authorize it, then the next step in the process would be for BEEP to come back at some point in the future and present to you a use by review application for your consideration. When we look at an application for annexation and initial zoning, there's really three lenses that we look at that application through. The first is we take a look at the town's comprehensive plan and see how this annexation and proposed initial zoning compares to what's in our comprehensive plan. And there were three goals that stuck out as goals that the town is trying to achieve in the plan for which this annexation would satisfy. The first is one I've already mentioned. It encourages infill development that's proximate to amenities and services. The second is that it attracts, retains, and expands diverse economic opportunities for Bayfield residents and the local economy. And then the third is it encourages small businesses to provide goods and services to local residents. So we think this opportunity matches those criteria and warrants a positive and favorable review as we look at it compared to our comprehensive plan. The second is our land code review. That's a fairly short review, annexations within the land code. It doesn't take up a lot of space, but here what we're looking at is the opportunity to do two things at one time. Our land use code allows for an annexation and an initial zoning to be heard at the same time. This meets that criteria, so we move forward on that front. Probably the most stringent thing that we have to look at when we look at annexations is really the Colorado state statutes as they relate to annexations. They're fairly lengthy and they're fairly technical. I'm going to just sort of summarize them as we go through them just to touch on them. I think the first is eligibility for annexation. It's to determine whether a property proposed for annexation is contiguous with the town, and there's a standard for 1/6 contiguation. And so we did the analysis on that. The property is really surrounded by the town. It's actually 66% contiguous, so we meet that criteria pretty handily. The second is that a community of interest exists between the area that's proposed to be annexed and the annexing municipality. In this case, this subject property is expected to serve as an expansion of an educational facility. It's contemplated within the comprehensive plan. It's already urbanized and well integrated into the town, so we think there's a natural community of interest between the property and the town itself. The third item that we look at is whether this property is the subject of any other potential annexations. Could it be in two application areas at the same time? That's not the case here, so we check that box pretty easily as well. Does it split a school district? It doesn't split the school district, so we meet that criteria. And then the very last one is, would this annexation have any effect on extending our municipal boundary, especially 3 miles out? Obviously, it doesn't do that. It's right in the center of town. So when we go through the Colorado state statutes on annexation, we check all of those boxes pretty handily for this particular project. I mentioned that the property is being proposed to be zoned as a multifamily residential. And what BEEP is intended to use this property for, as they've articulated in some of the material that you find behind the staff report, is for an expansion of their existing preschool activities. And that could include things like a gymnasium, offices, classrooms, multipurpose rooms, et cetera, that would just allow their staff to complete their mission more effectively. I mentioned that there will be a future review of this. It will be a use by review that will go to the Planning Commission and then ultimately could come to the town trustees. All of our requirements for annexation and initial zoning do require us to have a public hearing. That's why we're here tonight. So I would encourage you to open the public hearing, take public testimony. We do have April who's here. She testified earlier, so she's now back for her. What she really came here for is to talk about the annexation and the initial zoning. She's available and would like to make a brief statement to the board for your consideration, and then close the public hearing. If the trustees have any questions for staff, we're happy to take those. The action you're taking tonight is not the approval of the annexation and the initial zoning. So you have a resolution in your packet, and what that resolution does is it essentially says, we believe this application meets the criteria and can move forward through the process. And we have a Planning Commission hearing date set for BEEP for July 8th. And then we have our expectation is we would come back for the final reading with the Board of Trustees on August 19th. I would like to make 2 notes for your resolution that are typos that I apologize for. I put in August 18th instead of August 19th. So if you decide to go forward with the motion, please note that, include that new date in your motion. And the second is, I set up the resolution for execution by the mayor, who obviously has to recuse himself. So we do have a clean copy that's set up for execution by the mayor pro tem. Dustin has that at his desk with these changes included. So if you are so inclined to move this forward and adopt the resolution, please do so with those 2 changes. So with that, my recommendation would be to open the public hearing, take public testimony, close the hearing, and any questions you have of staff.
Okay, thank you.
We'll open public hearing, or public comment hearing.
Okay, good evening again with my voice and my composure.
Yeah, I didn't have mine either. You're good.
Yes. As you know, my name is April Stewart, and I am the Director of Bayfield Early Education Programs. I just wanted to take a minute to thank you guys for looking into our proposed annexation and give you a little bit of the reason why we are at this point. So this year, BEEP actually celebrates 30 years in the community, which is, yes, a wonderful, I think, honor to be here as a small nonprofit and to be able, to have served so many in our community. Where we are at with the growth that has happened and the potential growth, we had to come to a realization that we increased our license capacity last year. So we have 4 classrooms that every day can have 20 students and 1 classroom that can have 14. And per licensing guidelines, that's the max. And we were pretty much at that last year. So when we look at the proposed homes, constructions, that's where we decided that we really had to look if we want to continue to serve our community. Otherwise, people can move here with no children, and that will have to be one of the things. So with that, that's where we decided that we would really push and look. And again, this property, we really went and knocked on a door and said, hey, do you think that this would be a possibility for sale? And they were. So what a blessing for us. It is directly behind us. One of the opportunities I think that, I know that we will prioritize is an infant and toddler classroom, which there's a huge need in Bayfield, and there's an even wider need in La Plata County. So that's something that is a priority for us. It's time for BEEP to step in to that
business, and as you know, Carol Blatnick, that was a passion of hers. So I do think it will really be exciting to bring that to fruition. One of the other main components is, and this may sound ridiculous, it's our parking lot. We have 32 spots for 18 staff and 110 students. Would you like to know how the morning goes?
I know. I live on the other side.
Yes,
Yeah.
I mean, we have staggered start times. We have all of these things. So what this allows us is really the opportunity to be efficient. And if that growth doesn't happen, we still have a community space. That's where the gymnasium came in, is that we know that there's a community need for some spaces like that. So if the growth in Bayfield doesn't do what it's anticipated to do for the next 5 to 10 years, we still have an asset within BEEP in creating a campus type setting for our families and for our staff. So any questions that you would have of me?
Good job and keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you.
I don't have any questions. I've seen reports of the problems with childcare in our county and in Bayfield, and it is
significant.
It's significant. It's a
Significant.
significant issue right now.
Yes, it is significant, and I do think that's a platform for us for some of the funding. As you know, as a nonprofit, this is going to take us a good chunk of time to be able to fundraise and be able to have the funds to do this. But I also know that BEEP has the highest staff retention in the Four Corners. And again, I think it's because of who we are, our community. And so again, that's really a goal for us, is to be able to continue to serve that community. And so, yeah, we're going to put our best foot forward.
Have you spoken to Sarah Tober at the La Plata Economic Development Alliance? Because they are working on a plan.
They are.
Okay.
And
I
yes,
just want to make sure you.
I have been in many, many meetings, but this was a first. So I'm an educator, so all this annexation talk for the past 6 months, I'm like, oh. But here we are. So once we get past this, then yes, my primary job will be to really keep connecting all of those funds and building a board at BEEP too that will be able to relay to the community the need, because lots of people know the need for childcare, but a lot of people don't. So we really have to do our due diligence so that people understand why we're expanding in order to meet the need that is there, especially with the infant toddler spaces.
Yes.
Those are really tough spots to fill. Licensure, it is a big deal. But I do think that we have the capacity to do that.
That's awesome. I'm
And to do that
super
well.
thrilled you're adding
Me
that
too.
piece in there. I think
Me
that's
too.
awesome.
Yes,
Yep.
wonderful.
Well, we had Sarah and Carol here to do a presentation on the child care initiative that the county is working on, and it was very impressive, and I also understand and fully support the child care initiative.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about our community, right? They're our future peoples, so.
It absolutely is. And
Yep.
like I
Their
said,
parents can't stay it. They don't have.
Right,
to
exactly,
Right. Well,
exactly.
and when we hit our licensing capacity, that was really eye-opening for me, that I can't go back and say, we want more students in a classroom, because since we serve 3-year-olds, our group capacity is 20.
Yeah.
So we cannot go past that, which means that we need to open more classrooms.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
Well, I appreciate everything you do in the community and the work that you do with the kids, so keep it up.
thank you.
No,
We
thank
will.
you.
Thank you, guys.
If you don't have any other public comment, you can close the public hearing. We're slated to actually take the action as part of our action item agenda, so it's a little goofy that there's 7, but we can close the public hearing, and then when we get to our action calendar, we can take this back up as the action item for the resolution that's before it tonight.
Stephen, if we have questions for staff, do we ask them now?
You can ask those now, sure.
I'm just curious, since this is a vacant lot, is this not already zoned for something?
It isn't, it's part of our future land use map.
Oh,
So it's not-
okay.
Because it's county.
It's
land.
not in
Not
town.
ours.
This
That's
is
why
not
we're doing-
considered
It's
in
not
town?
Bayfield.
No, because it's not annexed in.
There's tons of that throughout.
Wow,
Bayfield.
okay,
Yeah.
that's where I was
It's
like, what are we
checkerboard.
doing?
Yeah.
Like, this right in the middle, yeah, okay. All right, now, thank you all. I think I missed that meeting when we were talking about the rest of that
Yeah,
lot,
no,
because
you're
I wasn't
fine.
here, so I missed the
We got to hear it
conversations.
when Chief of Police did a bunch of IGAs with the county because
Yeah.
of that issue of
Wow,
having so many
okay. All right, now, so I understand now why you need to be annexed in, because I was confused, and then zoned, because that was also, I was like, you're in the middle of a residential area. What the heck was that zoned for? Commercial? Okay, no, thank you. That's all I was trying to clarify in my head, so thank you very much.
Actually, Stephen, isn't it true that when you look at our zoning and our zoning classes, that this should be a community service zoned property, correct?
It certainly could be. I mean, if it's the category of community service, I think in this case, because the current property was zoned multifamily, that when the application was submitted, that you submitted the application to make it consistent with the current zoning of what they have.
Well, we've got, one is the Hope Academy. These are being zoned community service. So I feel like this is an opportunity to clean this up and have it properly zoned. It should be community service. It is not residential. It's not. It's a community service. And that would be, I feel like it's okay either way, but it needs to be appropriate, and it should fall in line with the way we're zoning these types of things.
I agree.
So,
Just because in the
yeah.
past it was multifamily,
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it was done correctly.
Yes, exactly.
So my understanding is that comes from the Department of Early Childhood licensure.
Okay.
So when I met with Nicole beforehand, she had done the research and said that it would need to be multifamily. I can double check with my licensing agency.
Actually, Stephen can do that.
Yeah.
And that's a fact I didn't have, so I appreciate
Yeah,
that she brought
because
that
then
up.
I'm
Yeah.
kind of curious about other
Hope Academy.
Hope Academy. Are they, again, this is just,
Yes.
it's.
And they're different licensures, so since we
Okay.
are licensed by the state, I do
Okay.
believe,
Right.
but that's something that we should absolutely
Yeah.
clarify
Okay, yeah.
and check.
Yeah,
No,
I get it.
Because if we're gonna do this, let's just make sure it's right.
Yeah.
Because it,
Yep.
yeah, the way we're saying it out loud, it's not making sense. However, and again, things have not always been done correctly, and we find those out later.
And our licensure is as a child care facility. We choose to operate it as a preschool. So that's probably where there's some of those differences in terms
Yeah.
of the language and
Yeah.
how
Yeah.
it would need to
Gotcha.
be zoned.
Yeah.
So-
Gotcha.
But I will get him the name of our licensing person so we can.
Yeah,
and
sure,
that's
let's
in no way to detract from it
Yeah,
at
no,
all.
absolutely
Yeah,
not.
but we just went through a comprehensive plan update, and there was a lot of zoning talk and different things like that. So it's really fresh in my mind, and so that's just a question I have, so, but I get it.
Yes, and I would like to clarify that too.
Yeah, thank you.
And I think your conversation tonight doesn't preclude you from advancing this. to the plan.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
You
like,
can certainly do that research. with
Yes.
Peter and the planning commission, just to confirm that that's the appropriate initial zone.
That's great.
and there's nothing in the resolution that says that we're zoning it in a specific manner.
Right, because the resolution is
Not
really
about
sort of
Yeah.
geared toward making sure that we met the statutory
yep,
requirements for the annexation.
For the
yep,
annexation.
perfect.
So I felt
Yep.
you comfortable that we could go ahead and move forward
Okay.
with that piece of it, and we
Okay.
could do the final bit of
Great.
investigation.
Yes. Yeah, because they're really two different
Yeah.
things too, so.
Cool.
Okay.
I don't have any additional questions.
So we can, when we come back to the action.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do this then.
We'll
Okay.
go through the
Yep.
process, but, yeah, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I guess
Thank
we
you,
gotta
April.
We gotta get Tom. Thank you.
Well, you gotta close the public comment.
I think that's what, she had already done that.
Does it? Okay, I didn't hear that, sorry.
No, and then I just was like, is this when I can ask a question?
She's leaving before the action.
Right.
Voted, yeah, they voted on it later.
I cannot believe that's the
Yeah, it's so checkerboard.
No, I was talking about them.
So this part is coming back to us?
So, that's the Bayfield Parkway, right?
Just saying.
No, this is the B.
Okay, yeah, so that one's coming back.
Here's the Buck Highway, or Parkway, no, Buck Highway. And so this is the one that's coming back that
Yeah.
wants to be,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah,
They don't make trailer anymore.
I just, I don't find
So
that
we're
to be
on
consistent
3?
with any of the other homes.
Yes?
Yes.
I'm making sure nothing got,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
Approval of minutes, financial statements, department reports, and town manager candidate updates. Has the board had a chance to look at the minutes from June 3rd, 2025?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd make a motion to approve the minutes of June 3rd, 2025.
Wait, there's just one change. I'm sorry, Matt. Just, again, it's clerical, but it says town clerk, not town clerk. Under, let's see, which is it? It's under, it's under agenda item 2A, and it just says town clerk, not town clerk. And I thought maybe we should,
Well, you could be Clark Hayden.
I know, he could.
Clark Griswold would be
Yeah,
better.
Clark Griswold.
But we might confuse people, so. But that was the only
Yeah.
thing, so, all
Good
right.
catch.
I would make approval of the minutes with the correction of Clark to clerk.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
No.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
I wasn't here, so I'll abstain.
Okay. Trustee McLaurin?
I have to abstain too.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. May 2025 financial statements and sales tax. Kathy's not here.
But she did put in the new format of the year-to-date actual.
Yeah,
Yes.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And she put in explanations of what was going on.
Well, she always had those, but she just never had like, where you could see a,
I like that, yeah.
so, good job, Kathy.
Yes.
Good job.
She is on Coronado Island, so she's a happy camper.
Yeah, we don't have to feel sorry.
I know.
So, pleasure of the board.
I make a motion to accept
Yeah.
the financials for May 2025.
And I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Sales tax is rocking too.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Next is the town manager
Candidates.
candidate update. I have a statement to read. For our town manager candidate update, the town of Bayfield is bringing in 2 candidates for the town manager interviews that are happening on Friday, June 20th, and we are like to introduce you to our 2 finalist candidates. The first finalist is John Waters from Carlsbad, New Mexico. John is a seasoned public manager with extensive experience in local and federal government, economic development, public utilities, and environmental management. His career includes serving as city manager of Rio Dosa Downs, New Mexico, and executive director of the Carlsbad Department of Development, where he led major growth and infrastructure projects. He currently works as a federal facility representative for the U.S. Department of Energy at the WIPP site. Mr. Waters holds a Master of Science in Interdisciplinary Studies, Biology, Environmental Management, and dual bachelor degrees in biology and anthropology. The second finalist is Stephen Proud of Durango, Colorado. Stephen brings over 25 years of leadership experience in community development, economic revitalization, and public-private redevelopment partnerships. He currently serves as Community Development Director for the town of Bayfield. His past roles include leadership positions in Redondo Beach, California, and large-scale redevelopment projects in San Francisco and Alameda. Mr. Proud holds a Master's of Arts in City and Regional Planning and a Bachelor of Arts in Economics. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, we would like to extend an invitation for you to attend our town manager meet and greet on Friday, June 20th from 12 to 1:15 at the Bayfield Town Hall. We have invitations by the boardroom doors for you to take and share with your fellow community members. At the meet and greet, you'll be able to talk with our candidates and give us your input as to which candidate would be most successful in this role. The interview scheduled for Friday, June 20th will consist of Board of Trustee panel on Friday morning and Department Directors panel on Friday afternoon. On Monday, June 23rd, the Board of Trustees will convene an executive session to discuss the candidates and the plan moving forward. We hope that you will attend the meet and greet and participate in this interview process with us. We did have a third candidate, but that person had to drop out because they interviewed somewhere else and took the position there, so that they dropped out of this one. Which is why 2 weeks ago I said we had 3 and now we have 2, in case anyone was wondering. But that's all I have for an update for now.
Was that at the senior center?
No, it's at Bayfield
Oh,
Town
the
Hall.
town hall.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay. Where's my pen? Next is the police chief report.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. I'm back.
Welcome
Yay.
back.
It was an exhaustingly great trip.
Oh.
Good. Need a vacation from your vacation?
Yeah, 6 grandkids wore me out. The most important part of this one, I would like to introduce Brooke Morris, our newest officer. Oh, she'll be an officer as of July 15th.
Oh.
That's when we swear in. But this is Brooke. I'll give you more
Welcome.
bio
Welcome,
when we do
Brooke.
the swearing in, but she is a local, a graduate from Bayfield High School. But she started with us last week, so she's in a modified FTO because the way Post does it is that the day I swear her in, she has 6 months to be certified. Since the academy's 5 months, I can't swear her in when I actually bring her on board. So we have to wait till right before the academy, send her to the academy, and then when she gets out, everything's hopefully good. But we've got everything.
No pressure.
Yep. She's worth it. That's all I gotta say.
Great.
Is there any questions reference to anything that I do have on my notes or anything like that? I still haven't heard back from the Post Board about the scholarship money that they're awarding to small agencies. I'm gonna reach out to them hopefully tomorrow. I didn't wanna kinda bug them about things. The MOU with La Plata, it's on a shelf because there were so many things that we have to try to figure out between us and them and what's gonna protect the town the most.
And that's with the Humane Society?
Yes.
Yes, got it, got it.
So if you have any questions, I'm here.
Chief, I have a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
So when I'm looking at your lovely graph,
Yes.
should
I
we
don't
just
make those, I just give
that's
them to-
okay. Should we just expect that the extra patrols, because I also had to then try to figure out what the words were, that they're usually going to be pretty high?
They are. They're gonna
Okay.
be the highest one right now. The ones for the SRO for the school stuff, we're gonna have 0 in that category for the next couple months. But the X patrols, when they were doing them before I got here, it was all handwritten. And it was just a sheet they had on their desk that they did them, and they supplied it to the sergeant, so they were never really inputted correctly
Okay.
into the database. So now we are doing it accurately, and so that's gonna be your number 1 for most of the part.
Okay, no, that's just what I was trying to find the blue one. And I was like looking for the numbers, but then if that's
And it kinda
if
helps
that's
me.
just going to be the norm, that's all I was curious about.
What it does kind of show me is that the officers are in those neighborhoods and they're clocking in, clocking out, saying I'm in this neighborhood for 15, 20 minutes a day and move on. So it shows me they're doing their stuff.
Okay.
Rather than just sitting somewhere.
I didn't say
They're,
that.
they're out and about.
Yeah, they're always out and
They're out
about
and
now.
about doing it.
Yeah. Because otherwise I walk out of the office and if I see them at the desk, they always put up their stuff or whatever they're doing. Hey, I gotta go. I was just leaving. So, yeah.
I love to see a future officer from our community. I think that's just a wonderful thing. So thanks, Brooke.
And female on top
No
of it.
pressure.
What?
I know.
Community Development Director report.
Since the microphone appears to be dead, I'll step up here and give it from here. So in your packet, there's a brief report on what we've been working on in the Community Development Department. I did put an opening paragraph on there that acknowledges that, as the town manager indicated to you at your last meeting, we have lost the contract planner from SEH that was assigned to us. They are working to backfill that position, and they have identified Nancy Dosdall to backfill that position. Nancy's eminently qualified, been in the community and in the area for many, many years. So she'll be filling in, backfilling for SEH, mostly to take care of the time that I'm going to be gone over the next 4 weeks. So she will be attending the Planning Commission meeting on the 7th. She'll be at your trustee meeting on the 15th. And so she'll be taking care of our activities while I'm away, and then finishing up with some of the transition activities that were already underway until I have my feet under me or have moved on to a different position within the town, one of the two. So just a little update on some of the projects that are currently underway. We talked about BEEP tonight, so they're here tonight for their initial reading. They go to the Planning Commission on the 8th, and then we have them tentatively scheduled for August 18th to come back to you for the final reading and potential action on the annexation and initial zoning request. The Bayfield East Intersects project is ongoing. We have had 2 status meetings with CDOT on that. And in addition, we've had a project management meeting with SEH on that project. There are some moving parts that are starting to finally move forward, I guess is the good news, is there are some assessments, environmental assessments, that are really the next step in the process. And so we don't currently have that work scoped with SEH, but they're going to give us a proposal for looking at the environmental assessments, and then also there's some survey work that needs to be completed. They're going to put that together. That wasn't in part of their original scope of work. We should be getting a proposal, and we'll have a better understanding on what that timeline is with them going forward. You are aware now, because you took action on it, that the grant, CDOT backfilled our local portion of the grant, which is great. So there is some movement and activity on that front, and we'll see more of that in the coming weeks.
May I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
So you said SEH is going to be providing a proposal to do the environmental assessment. Are they the only game in town who can do that type of work?
No, I think there may be other firms. We could do some research on that. I mean, they do have a high level of familiarity with the project because they've been doing design work initially, but that doesn't mean they're the only
I was just wondering if we have
organization.
if we have to do a request for a proposal, if something's going to cost X amount of dollars. Or if it's, I mean, because we're defaulting to SEH, I'm just wondering if a project is going, again, I'm just wondering if we're following, because I know, when I
Sure.
have thresholds to spend so much, and then other than that, then I have to go out and get bids.
Right.
And then, I mean, that's, some of the staff
And
does
we
that.
don't have a really good sense yet of what that amount is.
Okay.
And so I think once we see this initial proposal, maybe we might want to think about whether
Okay.
we want to do an RFP.
I'm
and
definitely
see
not
if there
trying
are
to
other
slow anything
forms.
down. I'm
Yeah.
also just being mindful of they're just providing a proposal, because that wasn't in the grand scheme of things before.
Correct.
So.
Understood. Yep. Any other CDOT questions? Okay. Moving along, Clover Meadows Phase 8, that has been resubmitted to our office, so we have a meeting with them on Thursday to kind of go through this initial resubmittal and start to get that back in the queue and looking at that for review. Hope Christian Academy is still under review. We're working with them on some of the design for the school itself. Ironton RV Park and Subdivision Preliminary Plan. The planning is underway. There's one of the next steps that we want to take with them, just given the scope and scale of the project, is a community meeting. So they were initially trying to schedule that community meeting for June, but they've now decided to wait until August to do that meeting. So we'll keep you updated when we have a better sense of what that timing looks like. McCoy Gonzalez Taylor Boundary Adjustment, Annexation, and Zoning. We're going back to the Planning Commission on July 8th. Probably worth just letting you know why we're going back to the Planning Commission. We went there once. We had a vote taken and then subsequently came to the conclusion that we didn't have the appropriate quorum to take the vote. So we will be back at the Planning Commission on July 8th and then turn it around quickly and bring it back to you for your consideration on July 15th. Pine Valley Heritage Arena. This is a pre-application process, hit the papers today. I think there are now 260 and counting comments on the Facebook page. Just so you know, we took a pre-application meeting with them. I had met with the pastor. He came to introduce himself to me and told me about the project, and then wanted to come in and have a more formal pre-application meeting. we assembled the town leadership team, we met with them, gave them an opportunity to tell us about the project, tell us about the vision, and then it also gave me an opportunity to tell them what the process would look like for them. The paper, I think, characterized it fairly accurately in that the property is currently zoned for residential use, so it would be at minimum a two-step process for them where they would first have to come for a rezone, and then assuming that rezone were approved, then they would have to come back for a use by review. It's not a permitted use under any of our use categories in the town, so it would be a use by review regardless of what the zoning is. So there would be another comprehensive review and look at the project if it made it to that stage in the cycle of development. So we'll see where that gets us, but wanted to at least acknowledge that we did take that meeting, and like I said, I believe the Herald accurately reflected that. And then on the back of your report, we are just continuing to do things where we're providing support for Cinnamon Heights as they're under construction, Pine River Commons and Mustang Ranch. We doing our usual response to general land use and planning inquiries, commenting on project and agency requests. Building activity is very brisk right now, so we're working very hard in the building department, getting permits out, signed permits out, doing site visits with potential applicants and writing verification letters. The one thing I would like to mention while I have the opportunity is we do have a vacancy on the Planning Commission. So we're looking for people to fill that vacancy and take that seat, because that's part of what led to our quorum issue. So I wanted to get that out there, and hopefully we can get some applications generated for the Planning Commission. And then one thing I wanted to put on your radar screen for your next meeting is the mayor is currently serving as the ex officio member for the Planning Commission, but our town code does allow for an alternate ex officio member to be able to attend the Planning Commission in the case that the mayor wasn't able to, or in the case for some of the projects where he may be conflicted out because of his work that he's done on those projects in the past. So what we've talked about is at your next meeting on July 1st, if one of you hasn't already been appointed the ex officio member to the alternate to the Planning Commission, if you wanted to volunteer and raise your hand, I don't think it would be a lot of extra time, but we'd certainly like to have you to help us fill out the seat in the event the mayor is unable to do so. So wanted to throw that on your radar screen for your next meeting. Other than that, happy to take any questions if you have any.
Mr. Mayor, I'd be willing to, I've sat on the Planning Commission numerous years.
Well, that's something we need to take a vote on.
So we'll set it as an action item for your next agenda for July 1st, and then you can volunteer and
We can
take
all
a
fight
vote,
for it.
and
We'll
you
dig
can
it
vote
out.
for
Yeah. Sounds.
So yeah, we'll set it up as an agenda item, and if you're still willing to do it in a couple of weeks from now, great.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Public Works.
Mr. Mayor, trustees, I'm going to stand on my tiptoes here. Stephen's tall. So
Stephen
anyway,
Proud, not tall.
yeah, I know. I can get my soapbox. So our locate tickets are cut in half from last month, which is good. Gives us some time to do some other stuff. The water system, we replaced one fire hydrant up on Oak that was out of service. We did that in-house, and then we finally received the 6-foot Berry hydrant for Park and Buck Highway, so we're going to try and get that put together. We've been waiting for that for 6 months, so we have that at the shop, and we'll get that scheduled. The sewer system, the sludge removal is going good. The weight tickets have been coming back light, so we've been seeing about 9 tons, and we're putting the same amount of gallons in there, so I'll have to give kudos to my operations team. I think they're getting a little bit more water out and sending a drier product out.
Oh.
So that does save us some cost because we are
Nice.
being charged by the ton. So instead of the 12, we're seeing the 9, and that's been pretty consistent. So keep your fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll see some cost savings there.
Good job.
The big projects we got coming up is going to be street stuff. Our line stripers will be here the last week of June. They should be here a couple days, and then our crack seal will start after the 4th of July, the 7th. And then potentially right now we have our chip seal scheduled for the end of July, the 26th, 27th, I don't know what that is, the last week, but we'll have to finalize that. So those are the big projects that we have coming up in the near future. And then, like Stephen covered a lot of the development stuff, just been in a few meetings and talking to some other contractors and developers about growth.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
Mustang Crossing. SGM drafted a letter of findings in regards to the detention pond.
Mm-hmm.
Were these good findings, bad findings, just findings?
They're findings.
They're
So
findings that require action?
there are some corrections that
Okay.
were sent to the developer in
Okay.
regards to the detention pond area volume and some of the drainage issues right now.
Okay.
So we did have a meeting with the developer, the Ludwigs, and also their engineer and the town in regards to that. And so right now, where we're at there is all the deficiencies have been identified. We don't have a definitive schedule right now for any of the corrections. So we're still not issuing building permits
Okay,
until
nope.
we can get that resolved, so.
I was just curious. I have not seen
yeah.
anything going up behind my neighborhood, so I was just wondering.
No, just the signs right now.
Okay.
So, yeah, no vertical construction at this time.
All right, cool.
So,
Nor should there be until we get an all-clear sign. Yeah.
right. So,
Right.
anyway, once we get some type of a schedule for the corrections to be made in regards to that, we'll bring it back to you and keep you posted. But right now, it's back in the developer's court. So they'll need to come up with that.
How many corrections were there?
A lot of the corrections, to be honest, were in the stormwater. So there is some issues with the outfall and the outlet structure with the pond not necessarily draining. There's a lot of that stuff that was in the report that went through. As far as that goes, there was a couple of the handicap ramps and pretty much the water system and sewer system, there's no findings as far as that. So those all came back satisfactory. So a lot of stormwater stuff, and we know that's been a large issue. So we're making sure we're doing our diligence in regards to
Great.
containing that.
Thank you.
I have
Great.
another question.
Yep.
The Los Pinos ditch easement. So I understand there's things being looked at in Cinnamon Heights. Is the ditch also in Pine River Commons area? The Los Pinos ditch?
That's the Schroeder ditch.
That's the Schroeder ditch.
That's
okay.
that's a separate agreement. So they made an agreement with the Schroeder ditch, and that was piped through.
Okay.
And they also, if I'm correct, have a new easement in association with the reconfiguration of the way that ditch
Okay.
ran. With your Cinnamon Heights project, there's 2 sections of Cinnamon Heights that the town's affordable housing project impacts. The rest of it is to the south, which is Sunrise Estates Villas, and then there's some to the north. So
Okay.
we're working with the ditch company right now, trying to satisfy some of their concerns that they have in
Okay.
regards to stormwater and some erosion stuff. So that's
Okay.
ongoing.
No worries. I just wanted to make sure, since I know there were 2 ditches. Not, I thought they were the same ditch going. I don't know where they go.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that we're not going to see the same issue in the other project.
Yeah, well, any large project you see is going to affect a ditch. So, in Bayfield,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
just a reality. So
Yeah.
we just need to make sure that we're trying to bring the ditch companies and the irrigators in up front, so we can come up with a reasonable solution. So.
Nope, perfect. Nope, thank you
So
for.
is part of the, part of the findings for Mustang Crossing also cleaning up the property to the south? Like, I don't know how much damage has been done with stormwater and whatever, but is that part of what we're gonna make them do too, is clean up some of the mess they left?
That's not in the findings in SGM's report. That's outside of the scope of what we're trying to collect. So the scope of work we're trying to collect is in regards to the development that is under review by the town. Some of those issues that are to the south, unfortunately, are private property issues, and I know that the owners have been in conversation with the developer as well, but that's not in our report. Our report's to review the installation and operating features that are associated with the subdivision as it goes in.
Yeah.
Is this developer pretty easy to work with, or?
It's been taking a really long time. So
Because you'd think you'd
a
wanna-
lot of no comment, and then I think there's a little bit of pressure in regards to some of the permitting, and I think you're seeing some action now that potentially, that's my opinion, but that's been leveraged.
Well, and actually,
Sell those lots.
you know,
But they can't build.
when it was coming before the board, I did research on Glenn Muzell, and he's had incidences wherever he's gone. Idaho, the entire Front Range that he's put projects in, major problems follow him everywhere. So,
There anymore.
Somebody else.
He was
has it
from
now.
Coeur d'Alene, right? Correct?
yes, yeah,
Just to let you know,
yeah,
Mazel is not part of the project anymore.
okay,
Because of those problems, he had
Oh, isn't that convenient?
developer now
Uh-huh.
was the financer for Glen.
Poor guy.
So Jeff Jorgensen is the
Okay.
current developer. They had to change the name. They had to go through and
Mm.
all that stuff. So Mustang Crossing LLC is Jeff Jorgensen.
Okay.
Oh, good to know. Thank
Yep.
you.
And probably to your benefit now, because.
Yeah.
Glen is gone, so, but
Okay, no.
it's the same thing.
It is the same thing.
Thanks,
Well,
Jeremy.
thank you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Yep, thanks, guys.
HR?
Okay, good evening. Well, surprise, surprise, I have been working on town manager interviews. I do have some good news today. Dustin came to me and said, we have to celebrate the front staff. And so Shannon and Renee have been working to collect funds for water shutoffs. And so today we had 0 water shutoffs. So I know it's a collective effort with the front, with Dustin, Public Works and everything. So it's
Good
working.
job.
The
Yes.
process is working. So
Good job.
thank you all for doing that. We hired 2 softball referees. I'm working with Mark to hire a seasonal for him for this summer. Another big thing, I have my SHRM test next month, so I'm doing everything I can to pass this test.
Nice.
I passed the preliminary test online. There's only one test, unfortunately, but anyway, so I'm going to do whatever I can to pass that. So anyway, I'll be glad when that's done, and if not, then I will just proceed and just keep on going. Okay, CML. I talked to Bryce Burgett today, who is our rep for CEBT, our health insurance. So he said, stop by. He wants to meet you board members who are attending, so, and introduce yourselves. So I said I would mention that today. And working on management performance evaluations. I think they are actually all ready to go. I had to make sure the boxes were all clickable, so it'd be easier for staff and town manager to do those. Questions?
No, thank you.
No.
Thank
Mm-mm.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to the action agenda, Caswell pre-annexation. So, I'm still not sure I should be here. So I have a question, I have questions before you start, if I
Sure.
can, because I may need to leave the room.
Okay.
Is this, so it is a pre-annexation? Like, I didn't do an annexation plat for him.
Yeah, it's a pre-annexation. It's a little bit of a quirky artifact of someone who wants to get water service from LaPlaud. So if you're a property owner and you're currently within the Bayfield service area or water service area or potential service area, and you elect to get your water service from LaPlaud, there is a requirement within their service plan that in order for them to provide that water service, that they need to complete a pre-annexation with the town. So there was no survey work done as part of this. It really came to us as a result of the fact that the property owner actually wants to do some work on their property, an addition on their property, and the county has required them to surrender their well and receive their water from LaPlaud. And that triggered our IGA that we have with LaPlaud that has the service plan attached to it, which inside that service plan says you need to have a pre-annexation with the town.
But my question is.
There's my little staff report. by
And
the
I,
way.
and I question it as well, is that extension of what they're doing a survey that you did?
No.
Then.
I did a
there's no-
boundary survey, I did a boundary survey for them. I did not do an annexation plat. And they don't have 1/6 continuity anyway to even annex.
I mean, I will tell you, when this item first came to us, we were a little mystified why we were being asked to do a pre-annexation in the first place. It took us a little while to figure
I've
out.
seen these before.
Yeah.
And I was gonna
Yeah.
say, some of you who may have been on the board for a longer period of time, these might look familiar to you because there were a series of them that were
Yeah, we were
done
getting them a couple
at a
years
point
ago.
in time.
Continues.
Remember,
where-
I mean, Ashley did
Okay.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's really what this is, and I can't imagine, Mr. Mayor, that your work would be a conflict. I'll defer to the attorney's office if they.
Doesn't sound like you have any financial interest.
Yeah.
No.
Unless you're gonna use
No,
it.
not unless he asked me to do more.
Pre-annexation agreements are
You're gonna
typical,
fill up your-
as
fill
Mr.
up your
Proud
water
just
tank.
talked about, especially in the Gem Village area.
Yes.
Where there is anticipation that perhaps there may be annexation at some point, and the properties will be contiguous because there'll be a number of properties that will want to annex. So these are promises essentially made by these potential.
For a future date.
Yeah, for a
Yeah.
future date,
Okay.
that they will promise to abide by the annexation process.
Okay.
Should annexation be conceivable.
And it's in
And I'm
our-
sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah, no, I basically, I just gave my staff report. And the pre-annexations are written in our favor, so it would be, at a point in time, as council says, if we ask them to annex into the town, but they cannot force us to annex their property into town, so the document is written to our favor.
Okay.
So, just in case there was a concern that somehow they could force the annexation question for us. So, I think in answering your question, I gave my staff report. It's a fairly straightforward process. As part of their county permitting process, they need to have this pre-annexation. It's a three-party agreement. It's an agreement between us and them for the pre-annexation, and then from the applicant to LaPlaud for the water service. So with that, staff's recommending that you approve this agreement, subject to any questions you might have.
Questions from the board?
Nope, not for me.
And any public comment? Pleasure.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the Caswell pre-annexation agreement.
I'll second.
I got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Trustee Hartz?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Beep annexation. You have the gavel again, Mayor.
Said he could just abstain. Didn't you say you could just abstain?
This is what happens when you get ready to go on vacation. All your stuff shows up at one meeting.
Of course. Murphy's Law.
You have to work doubly hard and go on vacation. And when you come back, you have to work doubly hard because you went on
Just
vacation.
don't contribute to the conversation.
I'll stay out of it.
Stay out.
I said enough the last
I don't think there's really much to add, other than you have a resolution. I articulated what that was for. It's really to make the determination that they've met the statutory requirements, and to set the meetings with the planning commission and with the trustees at a later date.
Does the board have any questions?
No.
No,
Do we make the motion to the mayor or to Mayor Pro Tem?
Pro Tem.
Okay.
Make it to the board. Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem, that's fine.
Pro Tem.
Okay.
Ms.
No,
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd like to make a motion to approve the BEEP annexation resolution number 648 with the minor changes of changing the date from August 18th to August 19th, and for the signer to be Mayor Pro Tem Hartz.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro?
Yes.
Trustee Katzos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem Hartz.
Yes.
Just note for the record, the mayor is abstaining. Thank you.
Next is the town hall landscaping.
Good evening, Mayor, Board of Trustees. So I wish I had better results for you. I do not. I do have a plan. I've provided a pretty detailed summary of the process that Josh and I have kind of gone through. I know you all voted on, one of the contractors the last meeting. I just wanted to supply you all these details, and I'm not sure if you all have read through this, and if you haven't, go ahead. That way you can make an informed decision. Typically, we receive 3 bids and select the lowest bidder. we did not get that opportunity here. I've had two contractors that have bid on this, and I don't see them in the room. I did invite them to come speak if they had questions. You know, I've kind of given, you know, Advanced Landscapes and Designs a couple opportunities to make a deal with us. One before the last meeting before you all voted, and two after, you know, when I let them know that it was denied. You know, I was a contractor for a lot of years, and I've had folks reach out and say, hey, you know, we're trying to reach our budget. You know, either you can, you have, you know, a little profit margin, or you can't. You know, and I feel like I gave them that opportunity to, you know, do that with us, and they declined, which is fine. But then, you know, they reached back out, one after I told them that, you know, you all denied it because it was over budget. You know, so to me, that's not good business. So, you know, I've kind of laid it all out. Diligent Hands did come out. He was very professional. He did provided a bid, and unfortunately, it's over, you know, what we have. He came in at $43,000, and that is not even to complete the whole project. Wow. That's no plants, no trees, basically demoing, new landscape fabric, and you know, putting it all back in. So we would still have to get shrubs, trees, and do that ourselves. Advanced Landscape and Designs, their offer is, you know, to have us haul the mulch from their location all the way in Twin Buttes, which is, you know, way on the other side of Durango, and bring it here for them to install. And then for us to, all the cobble that they demo here to haul, you know, here locally in town. So with all that said, my recommendations are two options. You know, if we're already going to be doing, you know, a portion of the work, they are at the $30,000 that, you know, we're asking of. That's our budget, and we have $10,000 for irrigation, and they're at $8,000, so they are under budget, but they're asking us, you know, to do this work. To me, it really makes sense just to have town staff do this project. You know, I've looked at it. I've done a ton of jobs like this. Yes, we have a lot, you know, on our plates, but I think we can do it. I think in the fall, you know, whenever we have some more downtime, Marie's also trying to get us another staff member, seasonal, you know, so we would have that additional help, hopefully. But for us to already be, you know, doing some of the work, I feel like we might as well do it ourselves. I have the background in doing this, so I have no, you know, no issues with doing it. It'd be a simple project. And we can get all of, you know, the material, plants, mulch, you know, fabric, all the stuff that we want to get this done. Will we have to do, you know, some extra work on top of our normal operations? Yes, but I've already talked to my staff, and we're willing to do that. So that is option one. The other option is to go with the lowest bidder, which is Advanced Landscape Designs. You know, I've looked at their reviews. I've looked at their work. They've done some very beautiful jobs. Their reviews are kind of in the middle. But, you know, just how things have gone with them, personally, I would not. But that's totally up to you. I laid it all out for you so you can make a conscious decision.
I have a question for
Yes,
you. When you say your staff can do the job, are you also talking about the irrigation piece?
Yes.
Okay.
And drip irrigation is very simple. It's $8,000 for me to do drip irrigation is a lot of money. Drip irrigation is very inexpensive and very easy to install. So to me, that's a lot, and maybe we have extra funds left over to maybe address some of the sprinkler issues that we're having. So that's another thought.
So how come the thought of not just doing the irrigation yourselves and putting the budget that you have for the irrigation and the landscaping, why didn't you do that?
Right.
Well, I mean, that would be an option that I could have given to them. The option that I gave them is that we purchase all the materials ourselves, and this was the events, landscapes, and designs. We purchase the material, we pay for the mobilization, having it shipped here, and try to find, a better price on mulch, and they do the labor. They were not willing to do that. They want us to buy their mulch and haul it from their facility, which is a long ways away. So, this landscaping is a want, but here at Town Hall, I also think it's a need. I mean, this landscaping's old, it's wore out, and it's a lot of maintenance. Every week, these guys are out here cutting the weeds that are growing in this landscape. So it will help cut back cost on maintenance, and time of staff to where they could focus on something else. So.
Well, I would like to go back to the first presentation that Josh did. And I verified with Kathy today that in fact, we do have the funding to do this with a company. It's not our line item budget specifically, but there was money saved in, I believe, a road project, Kathy said, that is available for us to use that was going to be part of the Parks and Rec. I think it was the parking lot or something.
Okay.
Anyways, I spoke to her. So, number one, I think I understand wanting to save the town money. But I also know that we're short-staffed. And asking our staff to do this big project, there's going to be overtime involved. There's going to be other costs involved. I think whatever you can identify that you're comfortable doing, like the irrigation, okay, maybe we remove that. But there is money for us to hire a company, and I think that is a more appropriate way to approach this.
You have a company that's at our budget.
Yeah.
So if that's your choice. And if we were to do this, no, we would not be doing any overtime. We do have all the equipment, to do it. Most of it will be done by equipment. If staff was to do this, we're not going to go out there and take each piece of rock out by hand. We're going to demo it all, and then we would have the additional money to replace it all. This company is going to leave the plants that are living and kind of go around it all. No, if we were going to do it, we're going to go in and demo it all and redo the whole thing, because no, we don't have time to do this by hand.
Right.
We would use equipment and do it quickly.
So is the first company that we looked at, that plan looked appropriate? Are they still available if we went back to them and said, you know what, we revisited this and we've dug in deeper?
As
And
far as I know, he has reached out and asked, where we're at with the process, and I've updated it, and, that we're bringing it to this meeting, and I'll have results for you by tomorrow. So
Okay.
as far as I know, that they are still on board to do this.
So I really think that, if the irrigation is so easy, and to me that seems like a really easy, put in a drip system, it's
Right.
gonna be low cost. Why is it we can't go with the original bid minus the irrigation? And that is, it would be under the budget for those two items. We would stay within budget. He wouldn't have to have his staff to do all that, just the irrigation, and, we make it easier on them so they're not
Right.
overdoing
And
it.
I would say you could probably purchase the material for $1,000–1,500.
Yeah.
Which that would still be in our budget, isn't it? What was the budget exactly?
We have $40,000 combined landscaping and irrigation. So you do have a valid point. If we went back to their $36,000 landscaping
Yes.
and used that $40,000 and used the remaining money to purchase the material, that is a great idea.
Mark, I don't want you guys hauling anything from
Right.
their plate.
I don't
That's,
either.
I mean, I understand where he was going with that, but I think that's ridiculous. I'm just wondering, since, we could come up with any plan. I just want your opinion on what you would like to do. And then I thought you were leaning towards, you don't want to work with these guys, so maybe I was misunderstanding.
I personally don't know.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, no, and that's fine.
be
That's what I want to hear. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, because I'm not familiar with all your staff, if doing this project is something where they are learning a new skill. Is this something that they, I mean, is this like a learning opportunity where they can be like, okay, cool, in the future, maybe we can figure this out?
It would be, yeah. Ben's
Yeah.
never done a landscape installation.
Okay.
For Joe and I know, we've done
Mhm.
many. So.
Okay, well, I know you're not. You're the
Right.
boss. You should know how to do all
Yeah.
this stuff. Okay.
Yeah,
No,
we're
no,
seasoned.
that's where I was thinking, what's the benefit to staff doing it? I mean, clearly, if there's no overtime involved, I don't want staff to feel overworked by any means. But I'm also wondering, since it sounds like we're not a big fan of this company doing this, and the way they're going to be doing it is working around things, which actually can make it more difficult. If you're just going to pull everything out and put it in, I also think there could be a certain amount of staff pride
Right.
in looking at town hall and being like, I did that.
Right.
So I would take your recommendation if you're like, you know what, negative on staff doing this, let's just go with them. You got my vote.
Right.
If you're like, you know what, staff can do this, we want to take it on, then we'll go that way.
We most definitely can.
Yeah.
We most definitely can.
Mhm.
And, nothing, on the other business, I just feel like if you give somebody the opportunity to do business, they should do it at that point, not after you've gone back, twice and, it was denied. That, to me, that's not how I would handle that. I would either say, yes, I have room in my, bid to cut some costs here and there and we can do this, or no, I do not, I'm sorry. But for them to say no twice and then to come back with an idea, that's getting started on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a good idea for you guys to take it on. You're looking for more help, and the path along the river and the south side or north side of Piney Park, both seem a little neglected already. So I don't think it's a good idea for you guys to take on this huge project. I'm not exactly sure how Parks and Rec ends up with a landscape position at Town Hall, but that's another story. The other thing, there's just two things that are hanging in my head. One was either Katie or Nicole talked about a new state law that was going into effect, not right away, but within a year or two, saying that we had to take out all the turf in municipal buildings and fields that were not being used for a specific reason that
would be for
required the
new
turf.
landscape installation, not for existing. The only thing that we had with the turf was a possible grant to remove some of our turf.
Okay, can I finish?
Yes, sorry.
Thanks. I just want to check on that because I don't like exactly the wording. I mean, I'm sure you're right, okay? But I want to make sure that if we're putting in new stuff, it's not somehow including us in that new legislation requirement.
But we're not putting in any
The other thing is that we would be putting all new things.
No, we're not putting
putting
new, we're
turf.
not putting turf in.
No, but we're putting new
Shrubs
stuff around
and
the
trees
turf.
would be drought resistant.
Around the
Yeah.
turf.
Yeah.
So if we have to take out the turf, we might as well include that.
We're not taking out the turf.
I'm just saying, if it needs to come out, there's something that I'm remembering about that state law. I just want to make sure and check.
Well, can we
That's
address
all.
it if we're taking turf out? I mean, like having them go down this hill of looking for something when they're not even taking any turf out seems a waste of time, to be quite frank.
The other item that I'd like to bring up is that while we're considering the building and the maintenance of the landscaping and the outside of the building, the inside of the building, we do have money budgeted to paint the building. And we did get to a point where Josh said, we can't paint the building because there's some issues with water getting in the building. And we never had a follow-up from that. And yes, landscaping is a want. I want to make sure that we're taking care of the building before we take care of the landscaping. I know it's two different line items, but we are going to go over budget with this, period.
That's something that we addressed during budget season, but this was approved in the budget, so that's why I'm here.
It's approved for $30,000.
Yes.
Yeah,
For two. both of those.
that's all.
So Mark, what do you want to do?
I'd love to do it.
Okay.
I have no issue.
I'm going to quote you on that.
It's
I would
totally-
love to do it. What I did. Did everyone just hear that?
Sweat's dripping down his
Mark would
face.
love to do the landscaping at
Totally
Town
up to you
Hall.
guys, totally up
So when I see
Okay.
you limping into your house at the end of the day,
Yeah.
I'll just remember that. That was
I
love.
like the challenge.
Yeah. No, I mean,
Lives
I
across
agree
the
with
street
you,
from me.
working with this
Okay, yeah.
contractor who, it's kind of gone a little weird, and maybe we're I mean, talking about this at different times, it's probably difficult for you to work with the contractor, which I get, but again, that's what we're asking you,
It's
like,
my job to use my discretion and provide you guys with, the best information that best interests the town, and that's my discretion.
yeah.
I also think it's important, when you have somebody who's in charge of their department and they're saying they want to do it a specific way that isn't gonna harm them and saves money.
Right.
I have no point in,
The
going with
remaining,
what you're saying.
balance, you can roll it over to reserves if you want to address the paint issues or whatever. I mean, we do have other irrigations problems, but money will be saved, so.
And it can be spent elsewhere.
Right.
But I also look at it as if something goes wrong, at least if we're paying more, it's the staff's project, it's not a contract, because again, the contractor's saying this is how much it's going to cost, is it?
They can always come
Well,
back.
There's a change order.
There was X, Y, Z wrong with it.
Yeah, okay.
Not with
That's gonna be
statements
another
on there that's-
$5,000.
It's gonna
No.
go over.
Not with statements on there that says that, that they're gonna have a stockpile of cobble and we must have a dump trailer ready to be available at all times.
Totals
That's-
are subject to change based on actual amounts used.
Well, that's saying that they're gonna start charging us extra for every little thing.
And I did feel like in the original bid that you guys were still doing a lot of.
We were.
A lot of manual work
Right.
for
Yeah.
the dollar amount that was there, and so I kind of was not super happy about that piece.
Right.
I mean,
Any other questions? Preference of the board?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we deny the town hall landscaping both bids and go with town staff to do this project.
I'll second that.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg.
Yes.
Trustee Zazzaro.
Yes.
Trustee Harts.
No,
Trustee Katzos.
Yes.
Trustee Moreland.
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin.
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes. Participation in November 4th, 2025 coordinated elections.
So this is the vote where you guys, if you go in favor of it, I will turn that over to the county clerk and that triggers the clock. And the clock will start ticking and there'll be deadlines here. I have an elections calendar here as well for that coordinated election.
So we talked about more than one thing going up to vote, correct? I mean, we talked about.
Lodger's
the
tax. Right? Lodger's tax, where we take it on as a town, like we get the benefit of it.
Right.
Yeah,
We talked about lodger's tax.
Right.
And we have the park plan.
right. That's it.
And the lodger's
So-
tax, presently, La Plata County collects it.
Correct.
So we're just saying
We
on,
want our piece
that
of the pie.
we will collect it now. Like, we
Correct.
will
Right.
have a largest tax, and so La
Yeah.
Plata County does not need to collect that and keep it on our behalf. We will have
Right.
it for ourselves. Okay.
Right.
And I think we should take that lodger's tax up. What did we were talking about 5%, right? It's currently at 4%.
I thought
And
La
that's
Plata
what-
was at
that's
6,
what-
no?
That's what La Plata County's doing too,
I
is
thought they were going to 6.
they're going to 6.
So I think, like, if you want to make it attractive to
The
the
voter.
voters, then
Yeah.
maybe you want to do 4% when county comes at 6.
Well,
Well, I
are
think.
we gonna ask
yeah.
for a sales tax too?
The lodger's tax will make sense to the voter because they get.
They're already being taxed.
They're already being taxed, and La Plata County's going to take 6% if we don't act on the lodger's tax and keep it within our community, and we can do it for less. So we're telling the community that we're taking their money and keeping it within our community and doing something with it that we want to do. We could put it towards the rec center, we could put it
I think a
towards.
lodger's tax has got to be for specific items, but I'm not sure what they
No,
are.
that's what I'm
They're
saying,
really
yeah.
It
stretching it.
does.
Yeah, I was just saying, we decide what we want to
We
do with
would
it, but it has to be definitive, you're correct.
So for clarity, it's gonna be charged no matter what. Because it's
Right.
currently 4%, correct?
Currently, yeah.
So currently, they're already being charged 4% and it goes to the county. And what we're saying is we want that 4% to come to the town.
Well, time out, because I'm seeing that in Durango, it's one rate, but in the county, the tax is currently set at 2%.
Yeah, they're getting ready to go to 6.
Six.
So they're gonna
Yeah.
go from 2 to 6 for non-Durango.
Correct.
Okay,
Right, right.
okay,
But the county takes ours because we're not
We're not
in the
charging it.
game.
okay,
We
okay.
have nothing that says we get those funds, so the county takes ours.
And we also have to be clear that it isn't a citizen's tax, it is a visitor's tax.
Right.
So when people come and stay at our VRBO, they collect that tax right now, no matter what. And then it goes to the county, it doesn't come to us.
So the city of Durango allocates their tax to sustainable tourism marketing, transportation, arts and culture, and council discretion.
They're reconfiguring that, and
Oh, that, all right.
That's-
It's like 70
and they're gonna reconfigure that, and it's going to, a percentage of it's going to go to the Child Care Initiative.
Now, the 2% for La Plata County, its aim is to address workforce housing and childcare needs.
Yep.
Okay. And this is what AI Overview was saying, so this is not factual to me until I've read it on La Plata County and Durango's site.
I also want to mention, just in general, that at the last Regional Housing Alliance meeting that we had, that Commissioner Porter did let us know that the county is going to go back for property tax, or not property tax, sales tax increases. They currently get 2% of our sales tax, and they are trying to go for higher. They haven't had an increase in 40 years, and they're not having a good time budgeting these days.
I chased all the oil
So-
and gas out.
Yeah, well,
You say they're
I'm
trying to
just
take
letting
our
you
sales
know.
tax?
yes, yes, so the county has a portion of sales tax. So how it's split up is so in Bayfield, the state of Colorado is, our total, let me start over. Our total in Bayfield is 7.90%. That's our sales tax in Bayfield. 2.9% of that goes to the state of Colorado, 2% goes to the county, and 3% goes to Bayfield.
Okay.
So what they're saying is that they are going to put forward an initiative, a ballot initiative, to increase that county sales tax, just FYI.
So that they get
So they can-
3% and we get 2%.
Well, no, it doesn't change what percentage we get,
Oh.
it changes what percentage
The-
sales tax is total. So if they wanted to
Oh.
increase theirs from 2 to 4, it would take our 7.9
Uh-huh.
to 9.9.
Oh,
Did we get a vote on that?
yeah,
Yes.
yes, okay, yeah. Huh. Interesting.
Yes, we get to vote on that.
So they can tax.
They're
their-
already taxed.
Yeah, okay. But they can
All-
raise our municipal
They can raise
businesses'
sales
taxes.
tax.
Do we need to know do we need to tell the clerk at this time which tax we want to implement?
If we're gonna do it this year, we have to figure this out tonight.
Yeah.
What they want to know by July 25th is that you've taken formal action to participate in the coordinated election. You have to notify them in writing, which is July 25th, 100 days before the election, if the governing body has taken formal action.
But the specific tax that we want to implement?
I think that'd be advisable, and it'd be part of a resolution that you would.
Yeah, no,
adopt.
I get that part of it. I guess because my next question is we need to know if we can use a lodger's tax for recreational building and parks.
Which I'm sure we can.
Yeah.
But here's the thing, we don't have very much right now
Yeah, I know.
as lodger's tax. So it's not gonna have the big results of a percentage on your sales tax would have.
Right.
It's not gonna be enough.
Well, I
We
think
have
if we're
what,
gonna do this,
10?
we should go for a sales tax myself.
Yeah,
Yes, well, for the Parks and Rec.
for
Yeah.
Parks and Rec.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still think we should take the lodger's tax
Yeah.
because it's gonna go
So
to
you
the
want,
county.
you want two proposals on there then?
Yeah.
I
Well,
think
what
so.
we could do, as a suggestion, is whatever we are able to collect from the lodger's tax, we can commit to the child care initiative and not take it out of our actual budget.
What are we putting into the child care initiative?
Nothing at the moment.
Nothing at the
Nothing.
moment,
Okay.
but they're going to all the communities and talking to them
Okay.
to see what
What
what they
we can
can
do.
and
Okay.
are willing to commit to the child care initiative effort.
Okay, sorry, I definitely missed, I remember there was a presentation and I missed it.
Well,
So-
I don't know that I wanna commit to that.
I don't
'cause
know that I want to commit to that right now either, to be honest with you. I would like to commit to, if money is being collected from Bayfield, VRBOs, Airbnbs, hotels, whatever, that we're getting that money, because right now it's being collected and we're not getting it. So to me, but how we designate it, I don't have an answer to that right now. Do we have to have an answer to that right now?
You kind of want to let them know what you're going for as far as, because it'll dictate their ballot placement. And then a month after that July 25th deadline is the IGA deadline,
Okay.
where they would charge us money and to be
Can
part of
we
the coordinated election.
allocate it to administration costs? Because in all honesty, where do we have the biggest shortfall on things typically?
Administration.
Is administration, and that cost just keeps going up.
I don't know if that would sell it to the
I
town,
think-
though. I don't know.
Well, we're just giving the money away to
Because,
somebody else.
because I can see that a voter would say, you know, first of all, voters by and large don't have a lot of faith in government and don't feel that government operates efficiently and effectively, by and large.
I get that.
So I know, but if you say, now we're going to say, we're going to take more of your money.
But we're not taking their money, we're taking
I
outsiders' money.
know, but the way it gets interpreted. So I fully understand, and I fully understand.
I totally get your point too, and I do think it's a stretch, but I'm telling you, that's a stretch we need.
Well, the other thing is that right now, we also need money for park improvements. We need money for park improvements, not the rec center by itself, but park improvements. I think if we use the rec center to define the 1% tax, then sales tax, then that makes sense. That's like a 1-for-1. But I also know that our parks really need some improvements. And so we could also do that. So it'd be kind of it would help reduce probably the cost in the future that we're doing with Parks and Rec as far as the big ticket items. And this can take care of immediate operational needs, maintenance needs, that sort of thing. And if by chance that includes that our Parks Director gets to hire another member, full-time staff member, maybe that's how it becomes effective.
Yeah.
So, but it would go to the parks development and maintenance.
Just looking up, county lodging tax revenue can only be used for certain things: advertising and marketing local tourism, housing and childcare for tourism-related workers, facilitating and enhancing visitor experiences.
But that's the-
Public infrastructure maintenance or improvements and
Yeah.
enhancing public safety measures. So it cannot be used for everything. So we do need to know specifically what it can be used for before we decide. what
Correct,
we
that's
want it
understood.
for.
So maybe what we need to do is decide, yes, we want it on the ballot, and then come back at the next meeting with what those potential.
Yeah. Because I like the idea of the infrastructure improvements, because that is one. And it enhances the overall visitor experience. So if we needed support with staffing for Parks and Rec.
Capital expenditures.
Yeah, that says public transportation, utilities, improving roads as well.
Oh, good, then we can
And
put it towards stormwater too,
Right,
because that's a
right, we got our
utility.
stormwater,
Right.
right.
Well, that enhances the visitor experience. They don't get
Definitely.
flooded at the VRBO.
Hey, if your motel room's dry, it's great.
Well, what do you guys think
That and our
about,
grant.
Okay.
pending
what do you guys
grant.
think about voting for doing that tonight, like whether we want to do the 1% and the lodger's tax percentage. Vote for that and have staff come back and bring us what those allocations could potentially be at the next meeting, and then we
Yeah.
can vote on that at the next meeting. I would prefer that way we have a list in front of us that we
Wait a
go.
minute, Dustin knows something.
I have a question though. Who's going to drive that? Guys, I don't want to be the negative person in the room, but honestly, who's going to drive that?
What do you mean drive it?
Because we don't have a town manager right now
When is the town manager back?
that would normally drive that
When is Scott back?
tomorrow.
Okay, he'll be back in time for,
I
How
mean,
come
I
he
just,
wasn't here tonight?
he's on vacation.
No,
He's-
he's coming back
two-
tomorrow.
He's taken his 2 days off on Monday and Tuesday because he's going to be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday.
Okay, I didn't know that. Nobody says anything to us, so we don't know what the heck's
Yeah, we
going
wouldn't
on.
know. It's So,
to write the ballot language you were speaking of earlier and things like that, somebody needs to be the head driver on that. And frankly, right now, speaking for myself, and I need to defend myself here, I am tapped out.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, that's
Guys,
okay.
with my current duties, I can't take a week off. I mean, somebody's got to drive this for it to be a success. And I feel like I'm being the negative voice in the room.
No,
No,
you're
you're
right.
right. You're
And
being
you guys
honest.
have the vision, and it's a great vision. Trust me, I would love a rec center. I could fill it up, but
let me understand. something.
somebody's got to
Where
be a
is the town
driver
manager and when is he back?
tomorrow.
Back tomorrow for 3 days.
So why-
He's off for 2 weeks.
Okay.
So he needs to be the one to do this.
And
So-
Stephen being gone a month, you know, it's just there needs to be a driver.
Dustin, what is the timeline? So we need to establish what do we want to put on, we want something on the ballot. That needs to be determined by July 25th. When do they need, when do they require language?
September 2nd.
September 2nd, okay. So by
Sorry,
July
5th.
25th, we have to tell them.
But you
we're on-
sign the IGA on the 26th.
Of July? August. Okay,
Yeah. And then that's where the charges come in and
Okay.
how much they'll charge you per ballot,
okay.
things
So
like
what
that.
exactly do we have to have by July 25th? Just the,
Just the motion
motions
tonight, but as Attorney Goldman said too, we'd have to probably bring back a resolution to that effect in the next meeting as well.
And that's still within the timeline of July
Mhm.
25th? Okay,
Yep.
okay.
But who's gonna do that?
Develop the resolution for us to vote on? Or Justin, are you saying that you don't have the capacity, and that's fine if you can't, to just put together the resolution that we're gonna be on the ballot?
No, I can definitely plagiarize somebody else's on that.
Okay, no, that's all I'm asking. No,
But the
you
ballot
don't need
language,
what's going in the blue book.
Tabor language, I mean, we
Okay.
just really, that's my concern, is
Okay.
we need a driver, and I'm just being brutally honest.
right.
Well,
which
then
that-
let's give the-
I honestly think that
yeah.
should be our interim town manager to drive it.
Absolutely.
And
We
that's
just have to give
up
them
for
a
you guys
directive.
to adjudicate,
What's
yeah. That's up for you guys to adjudicate,
yeah.
yeah, who's the
You know,
driver.
So,
You just have to tell them.
so then what I think, what I'm putting together right now is if we want to have anything on the ballot, we need to give direction to staff to come back with a resolution based on what it is we want to do. We're talking about lodger's tax at a percentage. We're talking about sales tax for the park, which we already talked about. That was 1%. So if we do the lodger's tax, we need to determine what that is. Then Dustin can come to us with the next meeting with that resolution. And then we have until August 20.
It might be the second meeting in July,
Which
Okay.
is fine.
because Scott's going to be gone for 2 weeks.
Okay.
And 2 weeks from starting Monday, it's going to be into July, and
Okay.
he won't even be here
We'll
for
be
the
back
first
the
meeting.
14th.
Yeah.
We'll be back
But we can still,
before the
are
second
we,
meeting.
we're having a meeting, we could, if Dustin can put together the resolution, we can still vote on it at the
Yep.
July 1st meeting.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree.
And we have until August 25th-ish
To do the ballot language.
to figure out more information.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah, you definitely want to have a plan by then, because that's where the money starts coming into
Okay,
play.
okay.
Sign the IGA, that's the
So maybe we
deadline
should
too.
Put a discussion on it for the July 15th, so when Scott's back. So that we can discuss how we're gonna allocate these funds.
okay.
Do you want a work session, or you want it to be part
I
of?
think we
it
should do a
be
work session. Yeah.
For
I hate
sure.
to say it, that's the day I come back from
We can't do it at the meeting?
vacation.
I think it needs, yeah, I do. A work session.
Okay, so for tonight, we can make a motion to,
Make them two motions, because there's two.
Two
Well,
separate
yeah,
motions.
the lodger's tax was a little bit of a curveball when I put it on
Like
there. I was
what?
thinking more of
Okay.
the sales tax coming out of that work session,
So I
but
think
we can, I mean.
earlier, during the work session, we were all in agreement that we would like to move forward doing a 1% sales tax. We don't know what the breakout of that's going to be allocated yet, but we don't need to know that tonight. So I'm going to make a motion that we move forward at our next meeting, voting on a resolution to get on the November ballot to have a 1% sales tax that's going towards our Parks and Recreation plan? Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Yes.
Trustee Harts?
Yes.
Trustee Ketsos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Yes.
Okay. So now, we're talking about lodger's tax. So I'm going to make a motion that we would like to move forward at our next meeting with a resolution to consider lodger's tax on the November 2025 ballot.
I think 4% sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because that's less than what it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, what it's
and-
going to be.
Less
Yeah.
than what it-
Yeah.
Okay.
we're going for.
For 4%.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Nyberg?
Yes.
Trustee Cesaro?
Yes.
Trustee Harts?
Yes.
Trustee Ketsos?
Yes.
Trustee Moreland?
Yes.
Trustee McLaurin?
Yes.
And Mayor Ah.
Hey.
I know.
He's debating. That's fine.
Yes.
Snap out of it, mister.
It's getting late. It's time for bed.
Okay.
Are you good? Board of Trustee reports and requests for future agenda items. So mosquitoes will be sprayed tomorrow. Just thought I'd bring that up. I saw the letter. Our current trash provider for the residential is looking at doing recycling.
Oh, I saw that.
And if you're interested in having him do your recycling, you can call him, and if you're looking for the number, it's on your trash can.
You can also fill out a form online to request that service as well.
Oh, nice.
I was just giving a PSA for that.
Yeah.
Last guy.
So Tom, since you mentioned mosquitoes, I was wondering, did we spray once per month last year? Because I could have sworn it was twice at least per month from,
No.
no, it was once?
Probably. or
I
less.
thought it was only like
I
twice
didn't
all
even think-
summer,
Yeah,
but
I didn't think it was one time per month even.
So he was supposed to come a whole lot more than he did.
Well, we were watching him come at night because we could see when he was spraying, or he or she, we could see when they were spraying.
Oh, yeah.
But I thought that we had such bad mosquitoes that they were coming more frequently.
No, not more frequently. What they did is
Okay.
they came to more spots.
Okay.
So originally, they only did like this area of Bayfield.
Okay, so they
And so what
expanded.
we did is we negotiated, so now they're going out like
Okay.
on the other side of the highway.
Okay.
And doing those areas. So you might
Okay.
see them more often because
Okay, no.
they're out that way, but we didn't agree for them to come
Okay.
more than that.
Nope, that's,
And
thank
it
you.
is, for the record, anybody ever goes and listens to this meeting, it is not harmful.
Mm-hmm.
They actually use a part of a plant
Yeah.
to get rid of the bugs, and it's not harmful to people, so.
You guys notice since last year and already this year, how much worse the mosquitoes? We can't even go outside at our house in
It's
the
terrible.
evening.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
no, we keep spraying and mosquitoes get worse, and we got no bees, we got no bugs, we got no moths,
Right.
there's no swallows flying around, there's no bats flying around. But the
I-
mosquitoes they're doing great.
Oh.
I mean, I've been out there 6 years. Yeah, all the water, right. But they should treat the water is what I've been told. But
Yeah,
They're really
yeah.
bad.
The whole mountain, that side, it comes right into my
Okay.
Right.
No, well, thank you for answering that, Meryl. And board.
And if anybody knows anybody interested in planning commission, we need some help there.
Yeah.
The last meeting, again, I was one of the 4 that show up. There was 2 that didn't show up. We have 1 vacant seat, and I had to abstain because I had a conflict of interest. And as it turns out, that was not a legal vote because we didn't have a quorum, and they voted on it anyway. But, so now the applicant's got to come back. Not a good situation for the applicant. We're not doing the town justice. So we really need to get some seats filled and get the planning commission people to show up that are on there that are volunteering. No, that's all I have.
I'll probably do it in April.
Trustee Harts,
Nothing for me.
trustee Katsos,
Economic Alliance is on the 8th of July. And then, of course, going to the CML conference, and I'm looking forward to bringing back some great info for you guys.
trustee McLaurin,
Nothing new to report, except that whatever I learn at the CML conference, I can bring back, hopefully. They're having a whole tour about recycling and stuff up there that I'm going to go on, which sounded like it would be pretty interesting, because I sure would like to see some more recycling action here.
May I suggest also, while you're at the CML conference, it'll be a great opportunity and resource to perhaps discuss with your colleagues potential ballot measures for sales tax and lodgers, and retaining lodgers tax from the respective counties. I guarantee you that there will be a number of ballot measures that will probably interest you.
Excellent suggestion. Thank you.
And to piggyback on that, I forgot to mention, I wanted to mention it during the park meeting, that Mark and I next week are going to a meeting with GOCO is actually back.
Nice.
So, and
Great.
looking at grant opportunities. So Mark and I and DJ will be attending that next week.
Excellent. Thank you.
trustee Moreland.
So I met with the Regional Housing Alliance. We had our monthly meeting, and guess what was on their agenda? Going to ballot with an initiative. They actually have a committee similar to our Parks and Rec committee. They call it a steer committee that has been going around trying to find out of a sustainable way of gaining funds to, have regular monies go into housing and affordable housing initiatives in the area. The only thing is, like, if they do it, they have to like almost participate with a municipality or with the county. And so they are right now going with the county to try to come up with an agreement on what would work with the county, because the county is trying to get their measures across so that they can get a little more income. Yeah, so it's a fun little maneuver that they have to do and try to figure that out. They've had a lot of success so far with some of their initiatives that they've done. They have a grant that they give, that they were given some funds for, that we're on the third issuance of those funds that help with technical assistance. It's like a technical assistance grant. And, they have had, we have had a lot of projects that they've helped. They helped with the Pine River Commons project. They're helping with Rock Creek in town of Ignacio. They're already on their second phase of their project. If you haven't had a chance to go out there, I suggest you go. A lot of their homes they've already sold are to teachers in Ignacio, so I thought that was really cool. But, they're trying to continue on with this. Durango 9R Schools is actually getting ready to do a project of affordable housing for the teachers in Durango. We might want to take a page out of their book and think about how that works and what they're doing, and kind of just look at what they've got going on. But it was pretty interesting. They went over the housing summit. It was completely sold out, the housing summit. They had, great speakers there, which I already talked to you guys about. But so it was, I don't know, it was just a good review of that. And then they went over the housing needs assessment and the housing action plan on that last week, and they're talking about doing a board retreat so we can start planning for next year. But that's probably not gonna be until September.
Trustee Nyberg.
CDOT had their meeting last Thursday. We talked about projects throughout the Southwest. They've had a lot of complaints from the Pagosa part of it.
Yeah, I'll bet.
That was a hot topic, and there was a lot of multiple complaints there, and it was kind of fun seeing them field those questions. And then the other one close to us is CDOT's got most of their easements for the 160 Elmore's Corner to start this way.
Do they know when?
They're thinking possibly the start of the first of the year.
That'll be a traffic nightmare.
Go the back way.
Yeah.
I know, with everybody else.
Yeah, well, then I go early, so it's okay.
Thank you.
Or just don't go at all.
I could do that too.
Trustee Cesaro.
So Upper Pine's next meeting is on Thursday, so I'll have a report out after that. They do have a swearing-in ceremony for their new staff. They have 2 of their own who've been promoted to captain, so really exciting for those folks, and a couple new firefighters. That ceremony is going to be June 25th at the admin building, and that's all I got.
Okay. Upcoming dates of interest is there's a board meeting on the July 1st, and then July 4th is the big parade. Planning Commission is July 8th, and our meet and greet for the town manager is Friday.
Friday. Yes, 9.
And we can all meet and greet.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Change that time on my calendar.
And with that, I'm going to adjourn this meeting at 8:45.
Steven, over here. I have a question for you before you leave.
What's up?
On cinnamon